Okay, so we're actually moving on into a plan for the breeding season itself. I know the breeding season is over 4 weeks away, but I think there's no harm to have a plan in your mind of what you're going to do and what actions you're going to take. And if you have them in your mind, you're more likely to do them, I think. So we're back, we're starting breeding. Our first 3 weeks, the 29th of April to the 20th of May. Look, 100 cow herd again. The target is 90 bred, so that's 30 per week for the first 3 weeks. Four heats expected per day. So what's the significance of the 4 heats expected per day, Doreen, as regards heat detection? It's going to be easier to pick up those cows, isn't it?
Absolutely, because what we've here now is, and we're into the breeding season, but it's just worthwhile planning it.
Yeah.
Right? And what we're saying is, of the 100 cows we have, we're going to have 90 of them bred by the end of the first 3 weeks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's 30 per week.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no point in waiting the end of the 3 weeks to realise you have 90 bred. If you
Yeah.
have 30 bred at the end of week 1, what's
Mm-hmm.
happening?
Yeah.
If you have 60 bred at the end of week 2, what's happening?
Yeah.
And if you have 90 bred at the end of week 3, what's happening?
Yeah.
And if you have 4 cows coming in heat a day, heat detection is relatively easy with one of the aids, either tail paint or cranes or scratch guards.
Yeah.
As 4 cows a day coming bulling, each cow will at least have 50 mounts each.
Yeah.
Very easy to pick them up.
And it makes perfect sense. The more mounts they're having, you know, the easier it is. All those, the tail paint is going to be completely rubbed off. They're going to be easy to read. So hopefully then we're hitting our targets along the way for the first 3 weeks. At the end of the first 3 weeks then we have an action. So we have 3 actions here, so we're going to focus in on those actions. On the 20th of May, we're talking about all heifers and cows calved 35 days, not bred, to be checked. So getting your vet out to check them at that stage. What is the purpose of that, Doreen?
It's absolutely crucial, because at the end of the first 3 weeks, we should have 90% of the cows calved 35 days bred.
Mm-hmm.
And I strongly believe that all heifers should be synchronised to at least give them 2 cycles in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll breed them the 29th of April, the repeats then will be bred by the 20th of May.
Yeah.
So that's 2 serves, if heifers need it, gone into them.
Mm-hmm.
Because the key with heifers is to calve them in February.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
SCC to keep them in the herd of the whole lot.
Yeah.
So rightly as you said there, Dennis, our first action point is going to be marked in the calendar, is
Yeah.
our mating start date.
Mm-hmm.
Our second action point is the 20th of May. And we're going to sit down that night before and whatever, and we're going to pull out our cows that are calved 35 days, not yet bred.
Mm-hmm.
And the best option, that's there, it's called out your vet, synchronization, fixed timing eye.
Yeah.
As we know then there's a straw going to be gone into them in 10 days time.
Yeah, yeah. And we're going to be covering synchronization in the coming weeks, but there's super programs there now with fixed time AI, and you're guaranteed, no heat detection required, you're guaranteed to get a straw into them, and bring them cycling as well. So the second 3 weeks then, the heats per day are going to are going to reduce. So hopefully, roughly half the cows, of the 100 cows are going to be gone in calf, and our heats per day are going to be halved to only 2 per day. And that's going to have, things are going to get a little trickier then as regards heat detection and picking up cows.
They are, because we're in now to the second 3 weeks, which is from the 20th of May to the 10th of June,
Mm-hmm.
and in a 100 cow herd we've gone from 4 cows in heat a day down to 2.
Yeah.
So our heat activity is halved.
Yeah.
And not alone now, Dennis, is our heat activity halved, but other things start kicking into play.
Mm-hmm.
The silage is starting to get ready.
Yeah,
I mean, the old championship is starting up.
And it's been a long spring. So
It's
there's
been a long spring. Long
I mean-
evenings, we're looking for a bit of a break, lads
Yeah.
to be taken to matches and so
Yeah,
forth.
yeah.
And the eye can come off the ball a little bit in the heat detection,
Mhm.
but the heat detection is getting more difficult
Yeah.
as we've only half the activity we had the previous 3 weeks.
And that's key, isn't it? You know,
It is.
Yeah.
Because that's the mistake a lot of herd owners make. They
Mhm.
expect the same level of activity coming into the next 3 weeks. They only have got half it.
Yeah.
So that's why the activity at that stage and the heat detection really has to be ramped up for the second 3 weeks.
Yeah. So activity is down. It's going to be harder to read them. So we need to up our game for those second 3 weeks. And we have an action here then, again at the end of the second 3 weeks, so the 10th of June, again all cows calved 35 days, not bred or checked. So checked and synchronised again. And it's really worth doing this, isn't it? Like I don't think we're overdoing it by saying to do it, 3 times. Hopefully it'll be reducing obviously as we go along, but it's really worth doing.
It's absolutely worth doing, because if you miss something in the first 3 weeks,
Yeah.
you can go into 20th of May and synchronise.
Mhm.
If you miss something in the second 3 weeks, you can go into 10th of June and synchronise.
Mhm.
So it's really helping you if you have missed anything,
Yeah.
and it's pulling forward those late calvers that may not actually get a service in them.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to keep 82% of the current herd we're milking.
Yeah.
So to keep that 82%, we have to get at least 3 straws,
Mm-hmm.
do you know what I mean, into any cow
Yeah.
before we're actually culling her for being empty.
Yeah. So you're doing two things. You're treating the cows that haven't come cycling, or the silent heats or whatever, and any cows you've missed, you're picking up them as well. So you're bringing your submission rate up to 100% every 3 weeks along the way. Now we're into the third 3 weeks. Heat activity is halved again. So we're down to 1 cow per heat per day. So things are not getting easier as regards heat detection. Things are getting more difficult. So what can we do to combat this, or what are our options?
Okay, so in a 100 cow herd, when we're into the third 3 weeks of the breeding season, which is from the 10th of June on, with just 1 cow per day coming actually in heat.
Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, hopefully, that's right, yeah. Now, tail painting sometimes can get a bit difficulty at this stage,
Yeah.
right? So scratch cards application, or what really works well is bringing back the vasectomized bull at this
Tell
stage.
me, why is the tail paint getting more difficult at that stage?
For a number of reasons. The first thing is we've got a good couple of layers of it on, so it's more difficult to remove it.
Yeah.
We can overcome that by changing the colour.
And less mounts to remove it.
Less mounts, and we've just 1 per day actually coming in heat,
Yeah.
right? And so the vasectomized bull works really well.
Yeah.
But then you're coming in again then with your action the 21st of July, and this is a very useful one to actually come in with. Do you know what I mean? Because you're coming in at the end of the 9 weeks,
Yes.
right? And it's
Yeah.
giving those cows another opportunity to be bred before the season actually ends.
So this is particularly now the later calving cows, and we're going to cover these. We're going to have a section on these, the forgotten ladies, Doreen likes to call them, but we're really talking about these ladies here. You know, we're giving them 2 opportunities to go on calf if we implement that program at that stage. So then our stock bull, we're getting into low numbers here now. So there's, you know, he's a useful buck at the very end there to pick up cows.
It is, and often herd owners are releasing them, do you know what I mean, around, do you know what I mean, July, do you know what I mean, mid to late July. So the important thing is make sure he's purchased well in advance. He's achieved whatever vaccinations he's due to get. Make sure he's fertility tested and he can mate comfortably before you actually let him off with a bunch of females.
For a young bull, make sure he's able to do his job. Yeah.
Absolutely, because the amount of times I've seen a young bull being let off with a bunch of heifers, he doesn't know how to mate, you lose 3 weeks there very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's very unfortunate if you've synchronised the heifers, because by missing the repeats, you've lost all your benefits of synchronisation.
Yeah. So really we're talking about planning for your bull as well. Now here I know there's a long time away before you're going to be using him, but we need to think about him now, you know, and have him fit, have his feet done, and make sure his health is right and he's fertility tested and he's ready for action when required.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the key is in planning the breeding season, the first thing is our mating start date.
Yeah.
Then once we've that decided, 3 weeks in the 20th of May, 6 weeks in the 10th of June, 9 weeks in the 21st of July, those 3 dates are absolutely crucial for intervention.
Yeah.
They need to be marked in the diary, put into your phone, and do not let it slip. I'll wait till next week,
Yeah.
As if you're doing that, you're missing an opportunity of an extra service going into those cows.
And we're going to cover that in more detail, the synchronisation, and really it's well worth doing. So I think that kind of concludes our breeding plan our plan for during the season. So we're going to, in the coming weeks, we're going to go into more detail now about some of the aspects we already discussed here. We're going to talk about sire selection, about beef and dairy, and go into more detail about treating and synchronising those cows, and more detail on heat detection.